Well, here's your lineup now for Heat 2B, and they've got the two fast boats in this one, so we could be getting a preview of the final if everybody stays on the water today. Spirit of Qatar, Stevens Roofing with Peters and May. Oh boy, Alberto, Steve David there. Visit TriCities.com. Formula Boats presents Todd Haas and Great Scott Carson, that is, the campaign for WSU. That's all the lineup there. Here is our Carl's Jr. starter clock. Head to Carl's Jr. for the new hand-breaded chicken filet sandwich. That's made with fresh hand-breaded chicken breast. Let's take a look now at the drivers that will be vying for this Heat 2B. And of course, Dave Villwock, he is angling out here, Mike. He is for yet another, his 11th Seafair win.
And number 65, as Pat O'Day said earlier, nobody's ever even close to that. It was an active driver at this point. Dave Villwock, the odds-on winner, if he can hold it all together.
Let's go down to Chris Francis in the Villwock pit.
Thank you, Steve. They made some adjustments to the steering and to the weight of the boat. And, of course, we know how well Dave Villwock got off on the first heat race at the start. He hopes to keep that boat speed throughout this one.
All right, Chris. J.W. Myers was Rookie of the Year back in 2003, Chip. How's he going to do today in Peters and May?
Well, the bad news is yesterday in the first heat, he didn't even start. The worst news, he's drawn the two fastest boats. It's going to be tough for J.W. Myers to even see the final heat.
And other fast boat, of course, the defending champ. It's Stephen David, cracked ribs and all in the Oh Boy Alberto. Mike, he is a worthy champion.
Oh, he is indeed. And the defending champion is going to have to show Mr. Villwock something in this particular heat, because he's got to convince him that he's got to be worried about him. And certainly a win would do that.
Jenny, that crew has that boat ready to go, don't they?
Yeah, they were actually scrambling, though, before he left. His push-to-talk button wasn't working. They had to reinstall that and try again. Now his radio is working, but it caused quite the commotion here on the dock before he went off.
Even little things can be a problem. Let's check out the U9 boat. That's the MissTriCities.com.
I feel bad for John Zimmerman because he's a great driver, but he really doesn't have a boat under him to do much this weekend.
The Formula Boat's Todd Haas, and that's the one that has Mark Evans, a former champion here. And Mike, he did it the hard way back in '97.
Sure did flip the boat and was back in for the final heat and won this thing. So Mark knows that luck is riding with him. At least it did then. Mark is returning to Unlimited Hydroplane Racing this year. We've not seen him since a serious back injury in Detroit some years ago. It's great to have him back.
And finally, the Great Scott boat with Mike Webster at the controls, another former Rookie of the Year, Chip.
Hey, it's got WSU on the side of it, and as a WSU graduate, I picked this boat to win, even though it doesn't have a chance in that.
Oh, nothing but honesty from our Chip Hanauer. As we talked to Scott Carson the other day, they're trying to raise $1 billion for Wazoo, but we'll talk more about that as the day goes on. Meantime, out on the race course, the clouds are starting to part. Water may be getting just a touch choppier, and as we head down to Pat, we're going to see a lot more of this scoring up the rest of the day, Pat.
Well, and we also are going to see something else. You know, we look at the superiority of the Spirit of Qatar, but then you realize that despite the skills of Villwock and the superiority of that hull, it's Stephen David who's your national champion and who was the winner here last year. Now here are those two head-to-head, side-by-side. What a heat. This will be a barn burner, Steve.
We hope everyone is listening on KairoTV.com around the world and on KJR Sports Radio 950. For the call of the race, Mike Fitzsimmons.
Here comes the troll for the lanes now on the front straightaway, headed down into the lower corner turn number 1. We have the Stevenson Roofing, Peters and May. We have the Qatar, and here you see a leapfrogging occurring. Watch Dave Villwock now. He's going to try to push JW just a little bit there.
You see this inlet up there? Well, that's the air. That's the inlet that's taking the air to the engine, but the water comes off that sponson and can go right in there, and that can cause big problems. It caused problems for Dave in Tri-Cities, where he started dead last because he basically washed himself down.
Trailing back behind them by about 500 feet is the Oh Boy Alberto with Steve David, and he's picking up the pace just a little bit to catch up to those guys as they come around toward that exit pin there, that yellow buoy. Meanwhile, coming up also is the Campaign WSU. Mike Webster moving down into that corner. Mark Evans is holding back at the moment, but everybody's cooling it through the turn.
And you remember up until this year, if you went that slow in the water, they disqualified you because you weren't on a plane. Thus, the rules have all been changed, so you can slow poke your way around and hang on to that lane.
Now watch, they'll start to
zeroed
speed
out.
up now, because that buoy right there is where the lane is established. So he's established lane 1, but watch some of these boats try to come over there and take that away from him. It looks like that's what happened. That boat leapfrogged him and has now got the inside lane.
Sure did, and that boat that has the inside lane is Steve David in the Old Boy Alberto, and waiting outside with a superior boat speed is Dave Villwock, who doesn't appear like he wants to get into that mix-up at all. He's back
Here's a
about
boat
4
with no
lanes.
place to go, Mike. He's got nowhere to go there. Well, he did. They opened up and he squeezed in there, but it looked like he was going to get up there with nowhere to go.
And as they come through the corner now, Steve David will have the inside lane. He wanted that lane. And Dave Villwock is going to be outside in about the 4 lane here as they come through and start to throttle up. Stephen David now in lane 1. It looks like Villwock will be in the 3 lane instead. In between him, it will be the Peterson May. Here they come down to the line. And we'll see if they're right on time. They are. And Steve David has an excellent start on the inside, right where he wanted to be, but with a real head of steam. It's Dave Villwock on the outside. There's Mark Evans as he rockets in through the far outside as they get through that corner.
Villwock got through there really nice and clean. Even though Stephen David's got the inside, that guitar boat is awfully strong, and I think he can beat the Alberto from the outside.
Once again, we saw a lot of tight water down there, and the possibility that maybe somebody got into it a little bit over. You have a drag race up the back chute, and it's the Qatar and the Old Boy Alberto. No surprise there, side by side as they go up to turn number 2 for the first time around here. And inside, of course, it's Stephen David. On the outside, it's Dave Villwock, and there is where we need the demonstration from the Old Boy Alberto. You got the stuff. You better show it now. Coming down to end lap number 1. He's going to lead him across the line, but just barely. Here's the Alberto across the line, and the Qatar right next to him, virtually side by side, heading down into turn 1 for the second time around now.
Look at all the room they're leaving, but Dave Villwock is leaving Steve David. He doesn't want to get a penalty. He wants to give him plenty of room. He knows he can beat him with the boat speed. But remember, in Madison, Indiana, they were in this same position. Dave Villwock hooked the boat, and Alberto ran right over the top of it.
Let's check a speed, Pat, on that first lap.
First lap average, 139 for the Alberto and 137 for the Spirit of Qatar with Villwock.
Now, hydroplane racing doesn't get any better than this when you've got 2 top dog boats right side by side like this. This is what the fans come for. And Stephen David on the inside once again is trying to maintain some speed, but he doesn't have it. That speed is overtaken quickly by the Qatar, as this time it's Dave Villwock across the line with the lead from the outside, and right inside of him is Stephen David and still with the inside lane advantage.
Mike, this looks just like the final heat last year for the Albert Lee Cup. We got an exact copy of that. I thought Dave Villwock would have a boat speed to get by him by now, but I believe, Mike, it's going to come right down to the wire.
Villwock turned the last lap at 144 miles an hour, and Steve David at 143, and now they're to the floating bridge turn, and this is it.
This is it, the last quarter lap to go, and it looks like Stephen David and Dave Villwock are bringing the fans everything they came for. Plenty of racing excitement here. Off the corner, taking him a little bit wide into Stephen David. Now let's see if he's got the acceleration. No, it's Villwock coming on, and it's Dave Villwock by a nose across the line in the Qatar with the Old Boy Alberto in second place. Boy, that Qatar has some really powerful acceleration. It demonstrated that about the quarter marker of the front straightaway there. Boy, but could he turn up the heat.
But Mike, what this tells me is that Dave Villwock can't necessarily just give the inside away. If they get into the final, I think Steve David showed that, I've got enough boat that if I can get inside of you, I can keep you off me.
Well, yes, Steve, his radio was down, so he had to check to see if he won. That's how close the race it was. You guys went around 3 laps, neck and neck the whole way.
Well, we put on a good show. So I got a good start and ran the boat hard and, had a good time. So that was a good second heat.
And end of turn 1 here, and end of lap 1 here. A good little hip check got you outside there a little bit, but there's boat speed really.
Yeah, he was pushing around a little bit, and the water's rough when it's hard to control the boats in a perfect lane, and so it was fair.
I think it's a good preview of things to come here later on today. I think so.
It was a good run.
Yeah, a good run. All right, Steve, back to you.